J360 Radio.
Hello, J360 Legion, and welcome to the J360 MiniBytes here on J360 Radio, hosted by J.M. Brady. I am your host, J.M. Brady. Let's get into it. Hey, how's it going, J360 Legion? What is up? Welcome back to J360 MiniBytes for episode 260. I'm your host, J-Man, of course. And currently, we are still here on J360 Radio right now because I'm doing some upgrades to J360 TV. I kind of had to clean slate a few things over there, so handling it right here on J360 Radio. And that's why I had to bring this episode up to you all. We are running them synonymously, you know what I mean? So I made sure I had J360 Radio always in the background, ready to go, in case like something went on with J360 TV. Just a way of having some contingency plans for all these sort of things that we are doing so far. And I gotta say, it feels really good to have it on deck, you know? Alright, so, how you guys want to go about this one? You want to talk about how it is only 2 weeks, practically 2 weeks in for January, and we're seeing a lot of crazy stuff that's adding on time and age to everyone because it's kind of stupid out there in the political spectrum right now? You know, I just look at all this crap and I just think to myself, you know, all this could have been avoided. You know what I mean? All of this could have been avoided. But nobody wanted to take the election seriously. Or nobody thought that old boy was going to win again. Or nobody took the time to really think, hey, what is in this crap for me, by the way? You know? And let me just tell you this. With all the constant bullying going on around here, the first time, you would think that people would not even consider listening to that man ever again. It is so stupid. You know, the fact that, again, we have to fight for basic human rights, and we have to also be very concerned about the lack of diplomacy going on around here. Because, once again, how the hell are we going to run No, we're not running that one. How in the hell are we going to run Venezuela? The reason why I said that was because I was thinking about, you know, in history when, like, you know, the Nazis actually, they didn't all stay in Berlin. Some of them escaped to Argentina. And see, some of them people also went into different areas in South America, which led to a lot of reasons why they can easily get away with things. And they shared that with people who had sentiment to them. And you see, with a lot of the stuff that was going on in Venezuela, if that destabilizes, again, that is a whole Iraq situation that we could find ourselves into. And again, with the country kind of eating itself right now, who's going to be responsible for that? You know what I mean? It ain't going to be Maduro. Or what, you going to give him back after you messed up the whole country and all? Yeah, it's weird, man. And not to mention, among other things, there's always something that comes in that distracts from real important issues. For example, you know, the creator of Dilbert passed away not too long ago. Do you guys remember talking about that on this series? I do. I remember talking about it on the J-Man show. And let me just say this. Scott Adams was... oh, God. Depends on which Scott Adams. Is it the Scott Adams where you're watching and reading Dilbert? Or is it the Scott Adams that really let you know what he was in the latter days of his life? And see, a lot of people like to say, well, you know, he had cancer, Jay. Yes, cancer is bad. Okay? Especially when you get it in the bone. Especially when it occurs in any different form. Cancer is terrible. But the idea is there are some people in the world that have done a lot of terrible things. And, you know, when they get sick and they go through it and stuff, I heard that he actually, you know, saw the error of his ways, changed his ways a little bit. And that's good, but here's the thing. It's like, again, why did you have that moment where you acted out in your latter days? You know what I'm saying? Like, telling, let's see, like, black people should stay away from white people, or white people should stay away from black people. Like, I remember that, and I was like, again, buddy, you write a comic strip, and you know that the social climate and race relations and everything is pretty much dangerous territory now. Because people made it that way. People can't disagree about anything. You know, like, oh, it's like if somebody disagrees with you about something, I mean, that's them throwing shade on you, isn't it? You know? It's wild in this time where we live in. And I gotta say, like, I wouldn't wish cancer, especially the kind of cancer he had, you know, because it reminds me of what Chadwick Boseman had, you know, and just withered right away. Like, that could be a lot of great pain that made him say that. It could be a lot of things, but let me just say this, though. There's still a asterisk on the man, regardless what. And you can go ahead and say a lot of things. You could be like, oh, you know, you're not being a great patriot about it. And the funny part about it is when people try to talk about patriotism or all this other stuff, because you see MAGA is using him as like a way to deflect people. You know, they do that for anybody that is on the GOP side. It doesn't deter the fact that a lot of these people have made it so that, well, they call them PDF files on YouTube instead of calling them what they really are, which, again, that is one of the reasons why I cannot stand these platforms like anything anymore, because, again, call it what it is. There's no babification about all this stuff. Call it what it is. They done made a way to make child lovers have a little bit more rights than you do just because they make a nifty profit. You know what I'm saying? Or they're already privileged and all this other kind of stuff. And things have gotten more unbearable because, once again, the rich doesn't know when to back the hell off and not eat, or back the hell off and not try to take over everything. They don't need to take over everything, and they don't need to know what you, me, or anybody else are interested in. And, you know, I used to read Dilbert all the time, but when I saw, like, Scott Adams say what he said, that pretty much put a black stain on what I thought about him, because, I mean, like, he was a great artist, and, you know, he was in Mensa, he was in that, you know, I'm smarter than everybody group, and all that. And then he went into those tirades, and then lost his spot in the comic strips and everything. Because, I mean, online, yeah, you can do anything you want, but in the actual newspaper comic strips, he lost that beautiful anchor spot that Dilbert had for a long time. And not to mention, the show was pretty funny, too. But a lot of that, you know, you wonder, is that him or is that the network that he licensed the show out to that made it funny, along with Daniel Stern's voice? Which, ironically, Daniel Stern is now in some sort of problems. What is going on, man? Oh, and by the way, Meta's vice president is a big-time Trump supporter. And, yeah. So, like, all that stuff is really starting to boil over now. Now, is being a Trump supporter bad? You answer that question. But let me just be perfectly honest with you, though, because, let's see, what was her name? Because I saw that earlier today about, like, you know, her being vice president and all that jazz. And it just makes you it just makes you wonder exactly, like, it just makes you wonder, like, why and how did we get to this point? Because, you know, like, they don't have fact checkers anymore. They've been gone. They don't have, like, certain, you know, middle ground anymore. Like, people could disagree. People hold somebody accountable and all this other kind of stuff. That's gone. Because I guess they figure they can make a lot more money on that other side. You know what I mean? Like, why go for honesty and a good presentation on your brand when you can go for misinformation, lies, and all sorts of other terrible things? And Meta has been making bank off of misinformation. You know? So, hey, as long as the lies keep selling, I'm going to keep being about it, right? And you see, the thing about it is, they also don't want to be accountable for stuff. Like, there's been many times where a lot of social media networks, and like even Twitter before Musk got his hands on it, was pretty much a blight. I mean, remember the days of Twitter when everybody just went at each other on Twitter, and it was always like a dox fest here, an argument fest over here, and it could be just over anything. It didn't have to be political structure or all that kind of stuff. But you see, all this stuff is interwoven because social media brings out not only the desperate sides of us, it brings out a lot of our vices and a lot of our insecurities on display too. To say like some people don't have insecurities or are not petty, I'm going to tell you that you're a damn liar. You understand what I'm saying? Quite a lot of us do. You ever think like why a lot of us still hang out on some of these platforms? I mean, some of y'all still use Spotify. I know you do. You know, some of you use, like, even when, like, you know, Cut Off the Spigot, like, when she was coming and explaining, like, the different alternatives, some of y'all took the jump. Some of y'all been aware. Some of y'all been paying attention, as you should, and I'm glad that you have. But you see, a lot of these, this isn't about safety, well-being, social responsibilities and stuff. It don't become social responsibility until a company gets caught in something. And then they always try to say, oh, we're going to do better about this. We're going to make this work out. We're going to fix all this. Don't you worry, ladies and gentlemen. We have it covered. No. Mm-mm. They'll tell you that stuff. But you see, the thing about it is, you'll know that the track record's still there. It's kind of like, a lot of the times where we talk about, like, data leaks. We talk a lot about like how much is enough information and how much is too much information and all these other things. Like we talk about the issues with data. We talk about a lot of ethical things. Like even nowadays, like when they go ahead and they use your face against you, or somebody could go ahead and take a picture of your face and then send that out to anybody and actually try to use that to criminalize you or anything now. And there's no law to protect against it. We all need to do the Crispin Glover approach and really, really take a stand for our identities and everything else. See, a lot of our laws that are on the books, they don't try to cover the digital space as much. And that's why, like, all this stuff is being thrown out there. Like, whether it's AI, whether it's any of this stuff. Because, honestly, I look at AI a lot and I'm like, it would have been fine if it was just an aid, not like something for people to crutch on all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, actually learning to draw, yeah, it takes time. Actually taking the time to learn and be literate about things takes time. Quick and easy is just not always the answer to stuff. But you see, you got a lot of people out here who don't care and they just see the profit margin of it all. And it gets to a point where it's like, again, you need to value people too. Yeah, this is coming from me. You need to value people too. Yeah, there are a lot of people out here who are idiots, and there are a lot of people out here who are privileged, and there are a lot of people out here who will disagree. Like even when I was talking about Scott Adams earlier, you know what I mean? Like I said, I'll admire him for the art and being the cartoonist, but as the person and what he was talking about when it came to race relations, I just can't see myself siding with that. And it's unfortunate that he had cancer. You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate that MAGA is using him as a way to deflect and shield any sort of shame that they've done. And that's been done multiple times, by the way. And I did see that Turning Point live stream, and I gotta say that was the biggest waste of tech I have ever seen in my damn life. But of course, I've also noticed a few things about the way these platforms do. Now, of course, they'll talk about this should be common ground. This should be all this kind of stuff. They're not about that stuff. If you're not kissing the ring of any of this regime nonsense going on, they're going to make sure they throttle your content. Like, YouTube will go on this whole thing with the terms of service, as they always been doing. But you see, because I remember this. I made a good one about 2026 goals, which was like, let's see, J-Man 374. You got to make sure you know the numbers, people. And then there was J-Man 375 when I went back to talking about Trump and all this nonsense going on, especially ICE. And that did not track or seem like it was taking because the algorithm came around and said, no, we got to play it safe. And it was at that moment where I was like, I knew this crap, but now that I have concrete proof about this crap, it's time to go ahead and do something a little bit differently. Nah, not kiss Trump's ass or any of that stuff. Forget it, buddy. No. I never do that. If you think about a lot of the content creators I dealt with and all that stuff, I've always stood my ground about things, and I've always said, you know what? You gotta go. I'm not going to be over here hanging out with you if you think I owe you money or you talk to me like I owe you something. I owe you nothing. I created my own, and I stand by my own, and I've always been about things. It's like I had to deal with that with a lot of people that try to censor my work, and I always give them the finger. And I stood by that principle all the time. So, even now that I got to go through a sequel of all this nonsense because, hey, you know what I mean? Somebody liked the abuse from Trump and crap, or anybody that's all about that nonsense. I'm not. I always say, hey, look, if you got your whole thing and you got stuff you want to be about, go do it in your own neighborhood. Don't do it in mine. Simple as that. But of course, people want to take over things. People want to be all about this kind of stuff and all the yada, yada, yada. And I see all that stuff here in the independent game, let alone mainstream media. Mainstream media is not, it's not like the middle ground anymore. Matter of fact, you saw all those billionaires that bought a lot of the control stakes in each and every single one of these studios, and you see like all of the it done gotten really, really hostile with the whole Warner Brothers deal now. Even more so than usual because, Ellison is one of them people that just will not be said no to. He does not like the word no. But you see, the thing about it is, say no. Say no to any of these people that have opportunities and ambitions and stuff, and they don't concern you. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself getting Ray Kroc. You know what I mean? Just like the McDonald's brothers did. But you see, the McDonald's brothers did that to themselves. And I'm not talking about just the movie. I mean, like, if you read the story about all the stuff about McDonald's and, Ray Kroc and the McDonald's brothers, Ray Kroc expanded McDonald's and used their name to go ahead and make a mint. Of course, at the cost of our cholesterol and our health and everything, but I digress. But at the same time, they managed to get a little percentage out of the deal, but not as much as they could have. And it's really sad to see that. He would make a mint out of that and use their name to do so. And just like any of this stuff with this Paramount Skydance monolith that they want to do, they want to have all of the control of our media. Because that's where we get our information, our entertainment, and everything, and they know this. And you're seeing that stuff with a lot of our sports networks, too. All of these things are being centralized and controlled, and that's pretty much what it is. It's not about well-being. It's not about you and I are actually having an ease of, enjoying and consuming. Because at the end of it all, they're probably sitting there thinking that our AI is going to be our consumption. You know what I mean? Because, hey, why actually think for yourself and do work for yourself when you might as well just be consuming all the time? And that's evil. And I can see that we're kind of over the minute. But let's go for a long mini bite this time. It's just weird with the way some of that stuff is going, man. And even then, I look at it like this. It's just not a good look. This is where you got to really take control again, and you got to look at these platforms. You got to see exactly what they're trying to push. A lot of y'all are on TikTok now, and I got to say, no, that's not the answer either. You got to get away from TikTok. All right, so it's like any of these platforms and all this stuff that they're trying to do, because it's about data, it's about control, it's about selling you something all the time and overloading you so that you don't think, so that you consume pretty much with the lizard brain theory. You got to think this, all right? Is it working for me and my ideas? Do I need this crap, or it's time to go? And see, a lot of y'all are actually taking note of that and leaving. Me, on the other hand, I even said that I am on my way out of here too. And I am. I'm on my way out of Meta products and all that kind of stuff. The only real reason I'm using Meta is because you're there. It'd be like the only real reason I would use Spotify is because of jams. It'd be like the only real reason to use any of these things is because, once again, some of y'all are still hung up on them platforms. And the best way I can reach to you is use that platform to send it to you. You know what I'm saying? But as far as like my main base operation, main communication and all that kind of stuff, you've seen the Ko-fi page, but there is something else that's coming along that's going to be better than that. And I have also another project that's going to go ahead and take shape next Thursday. So, a lot of things for you guys to look forward to, because I'm getting the hell away from these platforms. They're not good for you. You understand what I'm saying? They're not doing right by us with the way the ethics, the unethical behavior is really outstanding. So what now would be for me to go ahead and do what I need to do to get what I need stabilized, make an exodus, and I'm going to invite you guys to it. Now, a lot of y'all are probably like, oh, Discord, oh, it's another platform, all this other kind of stuff. I could give a damn, guys. Okay? I could give a damn. Your platforms, your responsibilities. But I looked at my old platforms, and my responsibility is some of these have got to go. Especially if they're all full of right-wing rhetoric and left-wing rhetoric, all that kind of stuff. I want to have actual conversations, disagreements, and then some. You understand what I'm saying? Real connections and camaraderie and all. That's what it should be about. You ain't got to agree with me on every damn thing. I noticed, like, even when I said what I said earlier, some of y'all are probably steaming under the collar right now, because it doesn't take much. And, of course, any of them that run these platforms know this. Oh, and by the way, you're kind of seeing this whole new thing, because I intentionally did the mini bite this way. I can extend it to 20 minutes and 25 minutes. Ha! But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know exactly what was going down with everything. But right now, the whole movement of me getting all of this stuff, all the main J360 stuff anyway, off of these platforms is happening. And then not to mention, I'm going to be speaking as many times as I need to about this stuff because we need to bring common decency back. And of course, real comedy. And of course, like, everybody having fun for a change. Not always like, I'm spending money out on this and everything else, you know? Oh, and by the way, for like 2026, you know that bill that you had sitting around that was kind of festering and all? Make some attempt to pay it, all right? And I'm just letting you know, because it's time for us to be responsible again. These people want this money and stuff like that. Well, guess what? It's going to come in the form of a real bill payment and not because they just tack on like 10% caps and all this other kind of stuff and tariffs and all this. Like, you got to really pay attention on a way to take control back. And that's really what I'm trying to tell you guys. You take the control back and you look at these people that got these civil servant jobs around you. You see, the thing is, we don't work for them. They work for us. Don't get it the other way around. Just like with social media, again, we're not forced to be on these things. They're an extension of us. Take control back. And if you don't know how to do that, well, you're going to tune into the J-Man Show tomorrow. That's going to be at 8. But I got to keep it moving, though. So I want you guys to take care of yourselves. This is J-Man signing off. Enjoy this extended mini bite. Peace.